Hi stamping friends, welcome to Melissa's Crafting Treehouse. Today I'm excited to be sharing my first ever YouTube collaboration. I'm collaborating with Karen Hashek of Karen's Creative Cards. The two photos you see in front of you will be the subject of each of our respective YouTube video tutorials. So Karen and I met online about a year ago through one of the first tarnished foil projects I shared on Pinterest. At that time, Karen was writing articles for some paper crafting magazines and wanted to share my technique in one of her articles. I was totally flattered, grateful, and thrilled. In the description below this video, you'll find links to these articles online. For today's collaboration, we have each created a winter or holiday themed card for our latest variations on the Impressions of Tarnished Foil technique. I'm calling my latest variation Impressions of Frosty Foil. So I'm starting with a Stampin' Up! Silver foil sheet, and the first step is to streak it with my white craft ink. When I do the Impressions of Tarnished Foil technique, I use black StazOn, either the StazOn or black archival ink, and that gives it the signature tarnished look. So the white craft is a pigment-based ink, so it's sort of wet and gooey, and it will stick to the foil, but it just needs to be dried. So now I am heating my piece to dry that white craft ink, and as you can see, it's super high speed. So now I'm ready to do my dry embossing, and I'm going to use the ruffled embossing folder, which is one of the very thick embossing folders that gives a very deep impression. So the first thing I did was spray the back side of my paper, and that allows the paper to get a deeper impression. And I'm just checking to make sure that the white craft is actually dry, because I don't want to stain my embossing folder or get the white craft ink on there. So I'm putting my silver foil sheet face up in my embossing folder, and the Sizzix and Stampin' Up! Logos are on the top of the folder. And then I decided to just put a piece of white paper in there just to make sure, in case the foil was still wet with that white craft ink, that it wouldn't get on my embossing folder. So now I'm setting up to do my dry embossing, and I have the Big Shot platform and my embossing folder with the foil inside, and as you can see, I've placed it about 1 inch down from the top. If it's too close to the top, it won't feed through. I've also only used one cutting pad. You only need one cutting pad with the thick embossing folders. So for the next series of steps, I'm going to be doing some heat embossing with various embossing powders. So you can see me starting with my Versamark, just kind of putting a little bit of smatterings of Versamark here and there. And the first embossing powder I'm using is gold. So just kind of tuck it under there and get a bunch on, and then I usually rub some off. I want to make sure that I'm still seeing a fair amount of the silver through and leaving room for the other colors that I'm going to be adding later. So I'm going to go ahead and heat this and do that real fast. And you can see I'm coming in again with my Versamark, and the next thing I'm going to do is my copper embossing powder, and I'm just going to let you watch me speed through. I'm kind of having fun with this voiceover and speeding up the video. Obviously it's going a lot faster than I really do in real life. So when you heat the foil sheets, as you can see, they sort of curl up a little bit. So I like to kind of flatten it out a little bit in preparation for the next step. And now I'm coming in with my white craft ink. If I were doing the tarnished foil technique, I'd be coming in again with my StazOn or my black archival ink. And I'm just putting a little bit of the white here and there. I'm trying to get the look of snow or snow drifts, sort of to go with my snowflake theme. And this is very sticky and thick, so it's putting on a lot of craft ink. So now I'm pulling in my white embossing powder, and you can really tell how much white craft ink I had on there based on how much powder sticks to the piece, and it was a lot. I had thought as I was doing it that it might also work really well to use clear embossing powder because of course, I was using white ink. So that might be another thing to try and kind of give you a subtle, more subtle look. But I was going with the look of snow, so I do think that that did come through. So now I'm starting to work on the final layer of my multi-layered background, starting with a little bit of Versamark on each of the edges of the ruffle, or in my mind, snowdrifts. And then I'm coming in with heat and stick powder, which is essentially a powdered glue, and it's going to stick to the areas where the Versamark was. And I'm trying to sort of give sort of a glittery look to the snow. I thought about using Dazzling Diamonds glitter, but in the end decided to use the silver glitter. So now the first thing I have to do is heat the glue, and the powdered glue that is, and it doesn't stay gooey for long. So I'm going to heat in one area and then in another, and then I'll sort of go over the whole thing just to make sure it is still really hot when I pour on the glitter. And I have the lid of my glitter bottle open so that I can be really quick and about pouring it onto my wet glue. So you can see I'm rubbing it off now, and I got a lot of glitter on there, probably more than I intended. So I did go back afterwards, and using my fingernail, I actually scraped the edges of each of the tops of the snowdrifts to expose a little bit of white, so the glitter was kind of just underneath the snowdrifts. So I punched out a bunch of circles using the punches you can see here on the screen in silver, gold, copper foil, and then also some in gold glimmer and silver glimmer paper. I also punched out some snowflakes from the Seasonal Layers Framelits set, and I laid the circles and the snowflakes out in the position that I wanted them. And then, as you'll see me doing, I just one at a time place them down where I wanted them. And I am going to end up cutting this piece down. As you can see, the circles are hanging off the edge, and it's a little bit time consuming getting the placement of all of these. So for this particular element on the left, I decided I wanted to put it on dimensionals, so since it was attached with liquid glue, it was easy to just pull it up and add the dimensionals to the back side, and that just gives the focal piece a little bit more variation and dimension. So now I'm coming in and about to cut my piece, and then I realized I had things hanging off of all the sides, so I had to cut one of them off first. I'm cutting this piece down in the end to 3 7/8 by 5 1/8, and I kind of fiddle with it a little bit, as you can see. So I've mounted my focal piece on a piece of the silver foil sheet, just with some snail adhesive, and then I put dimensionals on the back side of the foil sheet to attach to my white card body. And I was contemplating using the faceted gems, which you saw on the table just a second ago, but after playing around with it a little bit, decided that I liked the regular old rhinestones better, so I used a variety of sizes and put them here and abouts. And then I sort of felt like there was a little bit of something missing, so I added another silver foil circle up there in the left-hand side on the top, and added one more snowflake, a silver glimmer paper snowflake right up there. So now I'm adding one more last rhinestone to that snowflake I added at the end, and maybe you can see it here where I scraped off the edge. I'm pointing to it right now to give you sort of more of an emphasis on the snowdrift shape, and here's a close-up. So as promised, here is the original version of this card made with the Impressions of Tarnished Foil and one of the gold foil snowflakes that are in the holiday catalog. Um, I hope you've really liked the project I showed, and then this additional project. These will both be on my blog. Thanks for watching today. If you enjoyed this project, please give it a thumbs up and share it with a friend, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Have a great day. Bye. Till next time.